All right, guys, we're going to start the show shortly here. A lot to cover on today's program, a lot to cover on the show. We'll follow up on that council debate from yesterday. That was, I thought it went flawlessly. I mean, frankly, I thought it was one of the best pieces of production the I Love Seville Network has ever done. Kathy Galvin was just so talented. Kathy Galvin, very much a Renaissance woman. And the candidates, Carl Brown, Brian Pinkston, Juan Diego Wade, Yaz Washington, tremendous respect for the job they did yesterday with very challenging questions. All four interacted in a dynamic forum that was undoubtedly the most watched city council debate in Charlottesville, Virginia history. And all four interacted in respectful fashion with each other. And all four emphasized the need to respect each other. Quite a contrast to what we're seeing today on the dais. So we'll follow up on the council debate from yesterday. I have an announcement that I think is going to make an impact on this community. Tell your friends. I'll save the announcement. You can probably see it on the screen. If you look at the screen right now, you can see what I'm going to talk about for those that are watching. I know a lot of you listen to this as a Bluetooth or as a podcast or stream it to your car or to your headphones while working out or listening on Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts later. But I'm going to make an announcement that's going to be pretty big today on the show about how I'm going to get more civically engaged with this community. We're going to talk $1,000 now allowed for counselors from a credit card usage standpoint. Ralph Sampson, the new owner, co-owner of the White Spot. Alex Erpy, a mental titan, a mental genius, a mental king is going to join us on this show. Alex Erpy, the CEO of Emergent Financial Services. We'll talk Jamie Dimon's proclamation about 2022 or 2021 and an economic boom that could go into 2023. We'll talk reopening plays. Yields are dropping, which is stabilizing the markets, and the divide between big tech and how to invest in big tech. Facebook and Google hot. Netflix and stocks like Peloton, maybe not so much. We'll preview what's in store for tomorrow's show. Lee Elberson is going to join us on the show tomorrow. Lee Elberson's one of the smartest dudes we know. He's going to be in studio. Lee Elberson, I'm very excited for that. And on Friday, Rico Hearns is going to join us on the broadcast. Rico Hearns is A-plus people. And Doughman, the man behind the camera, is going to be on camera on Friday. It's going to be a big-time program on the I Love Seville Network. Judah Wickower is the director of the show. He is our North Star. Judah Wickower, my friend, how are you looking over there? You looking good? All right, guys. Do me a favor. Give the show a like and a share now, please. We work really hard for you. Like, really hard for you. The only thing I ask in return for the hard work of creating this content, putting the show on air, is you hit the like button, share the show, tag a friend that would be interested in the program. If you can do me that small favor, that would mean the absolute world to us here on the I Love Seville Network. And I'm truly grateful to anybody that does that on the program. Judah Wickower, my friend. Christelle, thank you for liking the show. You're the absolute best. I'm truly grateful for that. Lauren, thank you for liking the show. Johnny Ornalis, thank you for sharing the show. Welcome, Johnny Ornalis. You are A-plus people, my friend. Give the show a like and a share at your convenience. Peggy Dowling, thank you for doing that. We're truly grateful. Neil Williamson, thank you for sharing the show. We appreciate that, Neil, and we welcome you on this program anytime you would like, as we certainly read the Free Enterprise Forum quite a bit. Judah Wickower, we can rock and roll, my friend. Sean Michael, thank you for liking the show. We're grateful. I see Louisa Fluvan, Stephanie Wells Rhodes. Stephanie, you are fantastic. You have a heart of gold, Stephanie Rhodes. I sincerely mean that. I'm proud to call you a friend, Stephanie. More than friend. You were just A-plus people. Dan Herlin, thank you. Dan Herline, thank you for liking. Jody Dean Mills, hello and welcome to the broadcast. Jody, we love you. I think we're going to make an announcement that your team here is going to, I hope, appreciate on the I Love Seville Network. J-Dubs, we can lock and load when you're ready, baby. Guys, good Wednesday afternoon. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Seville show. Thank you kindly for joining us on an absolute glorious day to be alive. I mean, it's vibrant, it's dynamic, it's beautiful outside, and I have a pep in my step on this Wednesday. We're live in Charlottesville, across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seville network. One of my favorite aspects of my work day is connecting with you guys through this dynamic platform, a platform that allows you guys to offer thoughts and perspective in the comments, through DMs, through tweets, through text messages, and I will literally relay those thoughts on air on the I Love Seville show. We will adapt to your perspective, in fact, on this program. A lot we're going to cover on today's show, including a follow-up from yesterday's Charlottesville City Council candidate debate. Kathy Galvin was in fuego. Kathy, you are truly a Renaissance woman. The debate we hosted yesterday with Carl Brown in attendance, Juan Diego Wade, Brian Pinkston, and Yaz Washington was literally covered by every media outlet in town. In fact, I have today's daily progress in front of me here. The newly minted City of Charlottesville reporter Ginny Bixby covered the debate. Here you see it, front page, above the fold, and the whole premise of what we were trying to do with the debate was to bring the candidates and their platforms to you in an approachable fashion. When we put content on these devices, on smartphones, it's amazing how many people interact with the content. That's the entire premise of the network. Showcase the best of Charlottesville and Central Virginia on the network and allow you, the viewer and listener, to make up your mind and to go any direction you want with the content that's out there. We'll talk follow-up from the debate. We'll ask the question, will Nikia Walker run again? We'll relay to you what Nikia Walker relayed to me personally about her plans for running for re-election as an independent this fall. We'll talk credit cards and city councilors. There's a new plan in place for credit card usage on the dais and in City Hall. I think that is a direct impact of what we did here on the network when we called out what we thought was sketchy behavior, frankly. Sketchy behavior. Now the rules are clear-cut. So that sketchy behavior cannot happen anymore. We'll discuss those clear-cut rules today on the program. We'll talk Ralph Sampson, one of the most well-known Virginia athletes of all time, now a co-owner of the White Spot on the UVA corner. Can you imagine 7 foot? How tall is Ralph Sampson? I'm going to do a quick Google search on this. Ralph Sampson height. I mean, the guy's probably 7'4". Yeah, I was right. Ralph Sampson is 7'4". Imagine going into the White Spot for a double Gus burger, some onion rings, and a soda after closing down Coupe de Ville's, the Biltmore, the Virginian, or Boylan Heights, walking into the door, stumbling into the door, trying to get a little nightcap food action before you hit the hay, and a 7'4" man is behind the line flipping burgers for you. I'm not saying Ralph Sampson's going to be there every night. I hope he's there from time to time. But can you imagine the faces of UVA college students, of alumni, and of locals walking in the door and saying, there's a 7'4" man that's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, and he's making my Gus burger. We'll talk about that today, boys and girls, on the I Love Seville show. How about Jamie Dimon making the proclamation today that this economic boom that we're going to have is going to be a reality not only into 2021, through 2021, not only into 2022, but potentially into 2023. Jamie Dimon, the legendary chief executive officer of JP Morgan Chase, on the record today saying the boom expected into 2023. I will dissect that statement and his predictions with Alex Erpy, Chief Executive Officer of Emergent Financial Services. Say it with me one more time. Emergent Financial Services and Alex Erpy. We will also talk yields. The 10-year yield seems to be stabilizing and dropping a little bit. As a result, we see some stabilization in the market. And how about the divide in big tech? Not all tech, big tech, the same. Facebook and Google popping, Netflix and Peloton a little bit vulnerable. We'll ask the question why on the I Love Seville show, along with Hubert Davis, the newly minted basketball coach at UNC, the replacement for Hall of Famer Roy Williams. Hubert Davis, a hell of a hire for the UNC brass in Chapel Hill. The first statement, the first topic is something that I think is going to be something that's discussed in the news. I think we're going to make news again here. Folks, I'm going to cut to the chase, Judah. Okay? Judah Woodcower is our director. I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to run for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. I'm going to run for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors in the Scottsville District. I live in Glenmore, which is in Keswick, on the east side of Albemarle County. I'm going to run for a seat that's currently held by Donna Price. I think Donna Price is a fantastic leader. She is dynamic. She has vision. She has the gift of human connection. She has the gift of bringing people together. She has the gift of galvanizing the community as a positive magnet that can lead folks forward. All the qualities we want in a leader. 2 Mondays ago, I met with Donna Price at Millie Joe's and had a one-on-one conversation with her. And I said, Donna, I think you're absolutely amazing, but I wanted you to hear this from me first. I'm going to run for this seat when it comes open in early 2023. I'm going to give you the aspects of my campaign here in a matter of moments. I'm going to answer this question first. Jerry, why are you making this announcement so early? The reason I'm making this announcement so early is for a number of reasons. A, I think it's imperative as elected officials that we be transparent with our intentions. And my intentions for a little while is to be more civically engaged with this community. Now, I have an amazing wife. She is without question the sun in our family solar system. She's the foundation of our little 3-person family. We go as this beautiful, intelligent, amazing mother and wife goes. And I wanted to run this past term when Donna was going for office, but if it was not the right time for my wife and I, because our little boy was 1 year old. And I'll tell you what, being a parent and being a dad and being a mom, it is no easy task. Parenthood is the best, hardest thing ever and the longest, shortest thing ever. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. You don't realize that an aspect of your heart is missing, and I'm talking metaphorically here, until your child is born. And then when your child is born, your heart feels more complete and more fulfilled, and you cannot imagine life without your little boy or your little girl. We have a little boy who's 3. That being said, being a mom and a dad is so freaking hard. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and I cannot imagine the trials and the challenges that she goes through every single day with a 3-year-old that's trying to figure out life. I'll cut to the chase. There are a lot of Monday mornings where I look forward to going to work. And it's not because I don't love my son, and it's not because I don't love my wife, but it's because being a mom and a dad and being a parent is hard. It's the best, hardest thing ever. It's the longest, shortest thing ever. There are days that seem like years, but then you reflect on the 3 years your kid has been on this planet, and you say, good Lord, where did that time go? The reason I'm relaying this personal perspective to you is because I've had the conversations with the 2 most important people in my life, my wife and my son, and they support this effort that will undoubtedly take me away from them. And having the support of your wife, your husband, your children is critically important if you're going to run a successful campaign and potentially get into office for 4 years. Now, what is my campaign going to be based upon? I am a small business owner. I started this business 13 years ago out of a condominium in the villas at Southern Ridge down 5th Street Extended. Put my life savings into this business. 6 months into this business, I had 0 clients, and my life savings had dwindled down to nothing. I was living off double cheeseburgers from McDonald's because they were about $1.04. When I wasn't doing that, it was the Panna Garden buffet with Ziploc bags, and I was taking those Ziploc bags and I was scraping food off the plate into Ziploc bags when people were not looking, and those leftovers were the food that I would eat for days and the food I would feed to my dog, Lucy, for days because I could not afford dog food. It got so dire, the circumstances of launching this business in 2008 during a housing recession, that I had to rent 2 rooms in this 3-bedroom condo to 2 of my best friends, giving them rent below market. They won. But utilizing that $800, $400 per room to keep me from defaulting on the mortgage. Long story short, my second client ever, and I will always be grateful to this man, Andy McClure, my second client ever. At the time, Andy McClure owned, and someone tag Andy McClure. Someone tag Andy McClure or Julie McClure on this feed so they can hear this, please. Andy McClure, my second client ever. He, at the time, owned the Biltmore. He owned 3. Remember 3, the bar in the corner? It was Jabberwocky, it was Greenskeeper, it was 3. It was a number of different iterations. At the time, he owned the bar 3, where Jabberwocky and Greenskeeper was located. On top of the Biltmore, he owned the Virginian. He owned West Main. West Main is now Tavern and Grocery. He came to me and said, I need to revitalize my websites. We did the project for him. We exceeded expectations for Andy McClure, and we built trust with him because of POP, proof of performance. That POP led to Andy McClure saying, I have a concept for a burger bar that I want to open in Charlottesville. Maybe we call it Union Burger Bar. After some rattling off of names, going back and forth and brainstorming, we settled on what is now Citizen Burger Bar. My team designed the brand, the logo, the website, and launched the restaurant from an advertising campaign on social media for about 6 months, 3 months before it opened and 3 months after. Today, Citizen Burger Bar is one of the most successful, one of the best restaurant experiences in Central Virginia, one of the top revenue-generating businesses from a restaurant standpoint in Central Virginia. You go to Citizen Burger Bar, it's always packed. It's got the sports bar theme. It's got the beer theme. It's got the burger theme. It's one of the approachable restaurants from a price point standpoint on the downtown mall, the crown jewel of Charlottesville. When word got out that we built the brand, helped build the brand for Citizen Burger Bar, our business, my business, an advertising agency absolutely exploded. It just exploded. That led us to launching Charlottesville Restaurant Week, which we sold to Blair Kelly and Bill Chapman. That led us to launching the Charlottesville Home Makeover Project, a partnership we did with NBC 29, I Love Seville Shopping Week. And today, boys and girls, we have some of the top clients in not only a 50 or 60 mile radius of Charlottesville, but clients up and down the eastern seaboard. We hop a plane to New Providence, New Jersey, to service businesses in New Providence, in Morristown, clients in Richmond and North Carolina. Where I'm going with this is I have personally seen firsthand the value of small and medium-sized businesses for this community. I have seen the jobs that can be created when an entrepreneur launches a business in this community. I have seen the tax revenue that can be generated, incremental tax revenue, when we support and invest into small and medium-sized business and the entrepreneurship vision of the leaders of these businesses. One of the top tenets in my campaign for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, the Scottsville District, is prioritizing the economic growth, prioritizing the support for entrepreneurs and small and medium-sized businesses, prioritizing the new job creation that comes with small and medium-sized businesses across Albemarle County. We must, as elected officials, find incremental sources of tax dollars as opposed to taxing our citizens even more. Taxing our citizens more is a regressive tactic. These tactics impact our Albemarle County and Central Virginia citizens that are living on the financial margin the most. Top tenet in my campaign: supporting small and medium-sized businesses and the growth, the economic revenue, the tax revenue, the new job creation that comes from supporting these entrepreneurs and their business endeavors. A couple of other elements from my campaign are the prioritization of reliable and ubiquitous public transportation across Albemarle County, the prioritization of broadband internet across Albemarle County, the prioritization of school and early start funding across Albemarle County, the improvement of the relationship between Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville, and folks, the prioritization of sports tourism across Central Virginia. 6 key tenets. Sports tourism creates incremental tax revenue, and it showcases the beauty of Central Virginia for those that are playing these sports across the Mid-Atlantic. In May, my buddy Andrew Mavraganis and I are heading to a pickleball tournament in Henrico. This pickleball tournament has nearly 700 players. These 700 players are spending money in the restaurants, getting hotel rooms, spending money at the convenience stores, and they're visiting Richmond and Henrico and taking in all the potential and beauty that these municipalities have to offer. I'm going to ask you this question. Why are there no Mid-Atlantic soccer tournaments, baseball tournaments, lacrosse tournaments, basketball tournaments, pickleball tournaments, mountain biking tournaments in Albemarle County and Central Virginia? Should we not, as elected officials, utilize concepts that are innovative, that are new, that are not being considered to drive tax dollars to the municipality, as opposed to going to county residents and saying, give us more of your hard-earned dollars? This is common sense to me. Should we not be prioritizing broadband internet? There are students in Albemarle County that have dial-up internet. There are students in Albemarle County that don't even have internet. They're having to go to hotspots to download their homework and then take that downloadable homework back to their home where they study from their desk because they have no access to broadband at home. That is bogus. And that furthers the economic, educational, and social divide in this community. Explain to me why reliable and ubiquitous public transportation has not been prioritized across Central Virginia. And maybe this is not a government option. Maybe this is a public-private partnership that is created with government and an entrepreneur that can solve this dilemma, because entrepreneurs love to be in the private space where they can make decisions like I do on the fly. Why do we not have reliable transportation, reliable broadband, reliable early start funding for schools? My little boy is 3, and because of COVID, we chose to keep him out of those preschool options that you see at First Presbyterian Church or First Baptist Church, because the safety and health of this kid means the world to my wife and I. He starts in September at First Baptist, half a day. The reason I'm bringing this up to you is we now have him involved in a hot shots soccer program. He's in the 3 to 5 age group. The majority of the kids in this hot shots soccer program, he's the youngest by far. The youngest by far. Okay? We had to persuade folks to allow him in there because he actually missed the cutoff by 3 or 4 days. I think the cutoff was April 1 and his birthday is in March. The youngest by far in the 3 to 5 group. I see my little boy, who has not been in this preschool setting before, challenged by following the rules in this soccer program. Trey, sit on the spot. Trey, listen to the coach. Trey, here's the drill we're doing. Trey's picking dandelions. Trey's looking to hang out with mom and dad because that's what he knows. Trey's not sitting on the spot. Trey's not kicking the ball in the goal. And I ask myself, why is that? And it's because the other students in this 3 to 5 program have had experiences in early school settings. I immediately, after a few weeks of seeing him in this soccer program, saw the tremendous value that comes with getting our children into a school setting as early as possible. Now let's take it a step further and extrapolate what's happening. We have students in Albemarle County. We have students in the city of Charlottesville, students in Central Virginia. Their first time going to school is kindergarten. 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 How can the kids whose first time of going to school is kindergarten, how far behind are they when compared to the kids who've been going to preschool, ACAC, preschool, First Baptist, preschool, Covenant, preschool, YMCA, preschool, Presbyterian, preschool, whoever, wherever, since they were 2? We're already creating behind the 8-ball type of setting. We're asking kindergartners to compete against peers that have been in a classroom setting for years. And some are in a classroom setting in kindergarten for the first time. We have to prioritize early education funding. We have to prioritize broadband. We have to prioritize transportation. We have to prioritize economic foundations for small and medium-sized business owners. And we have to prioritize sports tourism, incremental tax revenue, as opposed to regressive tax tactics that impact those that are living on the margin the most. Those are reasons why I will run for the Scottsville District and Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. More on this discussion on the I Love CVille network. I'm going to ask for your support. I'm going to ask you for your support from a campaigning standpoint, from a voting for me at the booth standpoint, from a fundraising standpoint. And you know what? I'm going to cut to the chase here. I have been so disenchanted, so demoralized, so disturbed, so disgusted, so depressed, so downright downtrodden by leadership in the city of Charlottesville. I have seen this leadership divide a city, Charlottesville, and that division trickle into the counties across Central Virginia. So much so that there's a Boycott Charlottesville Facebook group that has 10,000 plus members in it. All these reasons have compelled me to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. You don't run for the Board of Supervisors for the money. You get paid $16K a year. The opportunity cost of my time for the Board of Supervisors, as opposed to focus on running a booming business, is tremendous. But if I do not do this, I would feel like I wouldn't be utilizing the gifts that God has given to their fullest potential. And for those reasons, today, on the 7th of April in 2021, I'm going to announce my intentions to run for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, the Scottsville District, a seat that's currently held by Donna Price. Please cut that into a sizzle reel, Judah Wickower. That's a hell of a long sizzle reel, my friend. But it's something the community needs to hear. Thank you, sir. Thoughts, comments, concerns, I have thick skin, put them in the feed. Thoughts, comments, concerns, I have thick skin, put them in the feed. I'm still going to cover, but I'm mindful of my friend Alex Erpy's time, so I'm going to bring him into the mix here in a matter of moments. After the interview with a true financial genius, community leader, Alex Erpy, I'm going to call him in about 4 seconds here. I'm going to give you a follow-up from yesterday's campaign, yesterday's city council debate, here on the I Love Seville network. A debate that is on the front page of the Daily Progress right here. See it? Above the fold. On NBC 29, CBS 19, and soon to be Charlottesville tomorrow. We're going to talk Ralph Sampson, co-owner of the White Spot. We're going to talk what Mayor Nakia Walker said to me about her campaign for 2021 and whether she will run for re-election. I will read it to you verbatim, what she said to me. We'll talk Hubert Davis, the new basketball coach at UNC, and the fact that Lee Elberson is going to join us on the program tomorrow. But first, I'm going to welcome Lee. I'm going to welcome Alex Erpy to the show. Judah Wickower, our fantastic director, an inner circle friend who is absolutely family. Alex Erpy is on the line. Judah Wickower.
Hey, Jerry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Two gentlemen in a blue button-down shirt that is almost identical.
I like the look. I like I'm told by people that bid checks are in, or at least I was told this probably too late for them to be in, but it still looks good.
You, my friend, always look good. I think the show is that the shirts are almost identical, and two Cubanos with tan bronze skin today on the program. All right, I'm going to get out of your way. Jamie Dimon, a CEO that I would say is arguably one of the most recognizable. We got the CEO of JP Morgan Chase today on CNBC saying this economic boom, Alex Erpy, not only 2021, not only 2022, but potentially into 2023. I mean, that's a hell of a prediction. What do you think about this?
I mean, he's not the only one. I think the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, is also basically coming out there and saying they think this will be one of the largest economic recoveries worldwide that we have ever seen coming out of this. And I think that's somewhat inevitable in the sense of, I mean, when you intentionally shut down the entire world economy, as you reopen, you have a rejuvenation of sorts. And I think it for the United States, I think it speaks a little bit to our entrepreneurial spirit, because I mean, we lost 30% of small businesses, around 30% of small businesses last year. So for us to be looking ahead and seeing this kind of positivity is good. And I think my brother recently showed me that as difficult as it was to lose 30% of small businesses last year, 2020 also saw one of the highest numbers of new businesses under 1 year old in American history. in a long time. So it just shows you that people get right back up, and as difficult it is for some people, and we definitely have to be out there helping them, it shows you that that spirit is still alive. We just need to, A, get out of the way when we're holding small business entrepreneurs back, and B, help them through tough times that we have imposed in the sense of lockdowns. And the virus is beyond our control, but help them through the lockdowns that we've imposed.
Great fact from the dapper Nicholas Erpy. Is that from who that was from?
From Nicholas Erpy. He's our research guy back there, Nicholas and Michael, and he keeps us on our toes, my father and I.
Nicholas Erpy, also a social media ninja and wizard. The man lives on social media. As someone who also does that, Nicholas Erpy, I got a lot of respect for you, my friend. I'm going to throw this to you here. Local question, not a macroeconomic question, but something local.
Mm-hmm.
Easy, difficult, challenging to start a business in this community we call Central Virginia. You are a sounding board for so many businesses, and we don't even need to go the emergent financial services route, because I'm going to cut to the chase. Xavier Yerpe, just like my father, offered you and your brothers and my brother and I a foundation that a lot of families don't have. We come from families that are two-person households, families that valued education so much that they demanded excellence in education, or we got the belt, the switch, whatever you want to call it, if we didn't get good grades in my family. So we have undoubtedly a foundation that a lot do not have. Where I'm going with this is, in your position as a leader in this community, certainly in the Latino community, you are a sounding board for many who want to launch companies. Easy, hard, difficult, challenging to launch businesses in Central Virginia, from what you've heard, the word on the street.
From what I've heard, I would say difficult. And I say that not from a perspective of being able to go out and market. There's a lot of resources that exist to help people start businesses in this area, especially Charlottesville, Albemarle. I mean, that's where my experience is, having done it here. I say difficult because, particularly just thinking of the Latino community in mind, it's hard enough to go through the challenges of licensing, registration. Who do you get in touch to get your business license? How do you, or if they're not answering you on the zoning or the taxes, how do you find out about it? And so that's hard enough. That was difficult enough for me, even coming from a business background. I mean, my father was an entrepreneur back in the 90s, right? And so you have some sense of how this works.
Mine too.
Yours as well. So, I mean, that's difficult enough when you have that connection. But for a Latino coming here for the first time and approaching all these barriers to entry, and I think that's really what they are. We talked about barriers to entry a lot in economics with respect to big companies, but they exist with small companies. You have to just think about that everything that we put in as a regulation, even if ones that are meant to keep us safe, even ones that we, in the food industry, the health inspectors, all these barriers that we put, they are barriers. They make it easier for people who have already crossed the barrier to stay in business and harder for people who want to enter into the business to enter into there. So my question is always, what can we do to still to keep ourselves safe? In other words, you don't necessarily want anybody popping up and saying, I'm a financial advisor, give me your money, and don't ask any questions, right? But what can we do to make sure that small business owners, people who have these dreams, don't get hampered up and in all this red tape that can be there? And sometimes I think that's the challenge that we have to push through. It's hard enough. I mean, for Latino entrepreneurs, I know they're working. I mean, they are up before dawn. They are working to the wee hours of the night just to keep the business alive, to do what the business requires, whether it's the restaurant business or whether they're in landscaping, whether they have a shop somewhere. I mean, they are in, sometimes we would always talk about at Forward Adelante events, sometimes people would ask, how come there's not, the small tiendas and the mercados that are here in Charlottesville? I'm like, they're working. They don't have time to come at 5:30 to a networking event. We try to bring them in and make connections, but that's hard because they're working so hard for their business. And so what can we do to not add additional effort and difficulties on top of that? So that's why I say difficult. Doable, if once you're connected to the right resources. Like CIC is great help with this kind of effort. They have people there that can help start go through the process. There's a lot of good resources out there, but if you're not connected to them, it can be very difficult.
How do we solve that? How do we make it easier? Because work and politics and how you go about your business, how do we solve making business creation and business start easier?
To be honest, for me, I think for my dad and I think it starts at the beginning. In other words, do we have a posture of encouraging people to do it, or do we have a posture of discouraging? In other words, making it appear so onerous that you don't even start. And so when you go out there and the first thing you do when you want to start a company is LegalZoom tells you, yeah, we'll take care of everything with the state, but now you have the county, you have the city, you have the zoning, you have this. Once you put someone a 10-item list of regulations they have to pass, already there's a discouragement factor. It's like, oh, they must not really want me. So my thought is always, can we streamline this? Can we make this that you go to one place and you fill out one form that has everything that we would need to know, and now you can be in business? Not that you have to go to multiple places and fill out. I think there's 7 different steps on the to get a business license, depending where you are and whether you're in a zoning building. I mean, that was difficult even for me to figure out because I'm not an expert in real estate and what zones in what way.
And you're a UVA graduate.
And I'm a UVA graduate, yeah. And I studied economics in UVA, and they don't teach zoning laws and regulations, right? And so to ask a small business owner to try to figure this out, you want a small business owner to be an expert in what they do, and then the passion that they have, not to become an expert in law in order to figure this out. And so for me, it's always, can we simplify things? Can we make it really easy such that when people go to start a small business, they're like, oh, good. We were talking about this with Carolina Medina when she came on the other day on Today Mañana, just how so many people that have been through CIC, the program, they come back for the alumni reunions in droves. This is probably pre-pandemic, obviously, at those holiday parties in droves. And we're like, why is that? Because they were so encouraged by what they went through there that they kept coming back. They said, I want to be part of this even though I don't have to anymore, right? And so what can we do as just a community to say, no, we really, really want to encourage you to become an entrepreneur, and we will not just support you by patronizing your business, we'll support you before you even get started by saying we will make this as easy as possible for you to start. And so that's always how I see it, because the moment you put a big list in front of people, you get discouraged. It's hard not to feel. It's like you feel the sense of maybe they don't really want me to do this, right? And I think especially with the Latino community, we got to send the message, no, we're glad you're here, and we want you to be able to share your culture and your passions with us. We don't want to be like, why are you here asking to start a small business?
That was beautiful. So well said. Alex Erpe, CEO, Emergent Financial Services, today y mañana, tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love Seville Network. A phenomenal show. Throw this to you. The business owners that you're advising that have had businesses that have been running, I'm not talking the startups that have been running, what are they saying to you about, good night, this is hard. These are the challenges I'm facing. Like these are the hurdles I want to overcome. Because one of the things that I think you and I embody is we try to be problem solvers. We're fortunate to have deep Rolodexes. And if we don't have the answer, we probably know someone who does have the answer, and we're the source of the source, if you may. Your show, what do you got here? What are the challenges for those that have been in business that we can help alleviate the challenges?
Oh, I mean, I think it's tough to answer that one only in the sense of the challenges have changed so much in the last year. Like if you had asked me this a year ago, they would have seemed, some of the typical challenges would seem minor compared to what's happening now in the sense of, and really the number one thing is just there's still a lot of restrictions in place. And I'm not sure to what extent it's within our power to control those, right? But there's just the consumer confidence has not quite reached the level. There's still a lot of fear. There's still a lot of concern. There's still the residue of the lockdowns, I would say. In other words, you lock down, when you lock people up and say stay home for your own safety and the safety of everyone around you, and then you begin to sort of take away the fences, people don't automatically start acting as though there's no fences anymore. Sure. Because you've herded them into this little space and said, nope, whatever you do, don't go out for your safety and safety of others. And it's hard to sort of take away the fences and say, oh, now you can go out. Don't worry about your safety and the safety of others. So it's a very big shift. And I think it's reflected in the fact that if you're in particular industries, and I mean especially I would say what we call the blue collar, the essential worker kind of industries, and even the hospitality, the restaurants and stuff. The number one thing is still it's challenging to get people in the door. It's challenging to be able to reach out, and I think that's the number one thing, right? We can all service the customers we have, and I think this is the same in my business as it is in a restaurant or as it for a construction business. We're still able to service the customers we have, the clients we have. We've pivoted, we've innovated, we figured out ways to serve our clients. The challenge is how, and you know this as well as I do, Jerry, if you're not growing as a small business, you're shrinking.
That's right.
And if you're not growing, you're going the other direction. There's no, I'm just going to stay where I am.
And that's like every day.
It's every day. You have to be growing. And so I think the challenge is growth that I have seen the most. It's hard to meet new people and to go out and acquire new clients, new customers, when there's just still so much anxiety and still so difficult to reach out face to face. Because that's what does it. We can do, the Zooms work, and I always say this, right? Zoom works when you know the person on the other Zoom line.
Yeah.
It does not build the trust that comes from meeting someone in person and being able to talk with them and get to know them as a person. You can't do it with the screen. That's why it's virtually the same. It's not quite the same.
Well said, Judah Wickhauer. Alex Erpe is the CEO of Emergent Financial Services. Let me throw this to you. Help me solve this dilemma. A lot of my friends and colleagues that are business owners, in particular food and beverage, hospitality, breweries, vineyards, they are saying to me, we cannot find people to hire to run our businesses. I was talking with Peter Castiglione, the owner of Maya Restaurant, and he says they have a tremendous staff shortage. Wilson Ritchie is probably the most prolific restaurant owner in this community. I'm going to not name all his brands because he has so many. I probably will forget some. The Whiskey Jar, Cafe Frank, Wilson Ritchie, Bebedero. Wilson Ritchie, the Milkman Bar and Dairy Market. I mean, he's got so many restaurants. Wilson Ritchie is amazing. He can't find enough people to run these brands and these restaurants. What's going on here?
It's difficult to say. I've seen a lot of, it's true, I have seen a lot of for hire signs in a lot of places that I have been frequenting. And just when I walk around downtown, sadly, there's a lot of empty shops, but in the ones that there are open storefronts, there's a little help wanted sign. And it's just, it's difficult to say. I would definitely encourage, I don't know how many people know about this, but there's a great program run out of PVCC called Network to Work.
Okay.
Network with the number 2 work. And it's run in part by Frank Squillacci, who used to be at the Chamber of Commerce back in the day. And they do a really good job in terms of working with businesses to train people, in other words, train workers to take the position at certain businesses. So in other words, the businesses, I need someone with these skills. And rather than being a mismatch of, well, here's someone who doesn't have those skills, and the business saying, well, I need someone with these skills, Network to Work sort of works with the business to say, can we get someone the skills that you need? In other words, help this person become the person that you need. So that's a good resource. And I think the more we can have of that type of resource, I think that's really how the new economy will work. Because the risk you always have with recessions, and I think with pandemic, is the skill sets change in the time that people are out of work. So in other words, we had a huge economic downturn last year. A lot of people laid off. Now you're 12 months in, businesses looking to hire, they need a certain skill set, and all of a sudden you say, well, no one seems to have the skills that I'm looking for, or people that were lost their work last year saying, oh, I don't think I fit with this one anymore. Something's changed, right? And so I think for us to be able to fix that, we have to be willing to invest a little to say, okay, how can we caused the lockdown in the sense of choosing to address the coronavirus in this way by shutting down the economy. What can we now do to make sure that these workers now can get the skills they need to catch up? Because technology has continued to change in 12 months, right? But we just laid off people in the middle of a pandemic. So how can we sort of make that up and work with people to make sure that they feel confident to apply for these jobs, that they know they're out there, and that if there is a little bit of a mismatch, what can we do to close that gap so that they can get the job and the business can say, yeah, I'm willing. I bet you a lot of small business owners are willing to put a little something, a little effort in, right, to get the perfect person for their job. Right? They're not out there saying, I'd rather have no manager than pay too much for a manager. No, they'd rather have a manager.
Sure.
Because otherwise your business can't run. And so I think that from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think a lot of working with groups like Network to Work can probably yield a lot of benefits for bridging that gap that was caused by just having such a disruption last year.
I'm going to ask you a very pointed question here. With the stimulus money, trillions of dollars, the federal government flooded Americans with, in this 12, 13, 14-month period we call COVID and quarantine and lockdown, did we change human behavior and work ethic because we paid people to stay home and sit on a couch? And now that human behavior and that work ethic may not have the same fire or let's get back to work mentality that it had before COVID.
Ooh, I would hope not. I would hope and there's always the moral hazard that you talked about with these actions. I would hope that the temporary nature of it and just the shock nature of the fact that it was in response to pandemic hasn't changed habits that much. My suspicion is that fear and uncertainty are probably playing a greater role than complacency.
Okay.
I just feel generally speaking,
well said.
People, sadly, and it's just a fact of human nature, I think we tend to be more motivated by fear and uncertainty than by complacency, in a sense. And I feel like if we can get those under control, if we can drive away the uncertainty, drive away the fear, make people realize, look, we're coming out of this and we can do it safely while reopening. While not, we don't have to close ourselves in. We can go out there and follow the rules we got to follow, but to make sure this works. And don't put any rules that we don't need to have in place just for the sake of looking like we're being careful, right? And I think once we do that, I think my hope is that the complacency will come away, because I think it's more driven by uncertainty than anything else. Presuming, of course, that obviously we don't continue, which you definitely don't want to change to a facet where you're discouraging people from work, because I think there's a lot of satisfaction and self-worth and dignity that comes out of working hard and being able to do something for yourself and have those dreams. Because we talk about entrepreneurial dreams all the time, but workers have, like, people that work for entrepreneurs have dreams too, right? A lot of them actually enjoy what they do. It's not always a question of, I have no choice but to work for this entrepreneur because I don't want to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes people are like, no, I actually enjoy working with this great entrepreneur. He takes certain risks, I take certain risks as the person working there, but we work together as a team. And I think people do derive dignity and self-satisfaction from that. So I would hate to discourage it, but my hope is we haven't yet.
Dude, you are amazing. This guy is amazing. And I'll tell you why. Not only the words and the intellect and the perspective, we had a completely different script for this interview in our pre-production meeting, and the dude just completely adapted on the fly to the conversation, which is just a testament to his skill set. Today y mañana, it's going to be a big one. Tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love Seville Network, presented by Forward Adelante, presented and powered by Emergent Financial Services. My friend, what do we have tomorrow cooking?
Yeah, and Ristel Noel State Farm is also our powered sponsor. And yet tomorrow's going to be what tell Judah to get ready because he's probably going to get an email after this with all the list of people coming in. So tell him to be prepared because we're going to have, first we're going to have Martin and Phil from Charlottesville Tree Service. It's a veteran-owned company here. The great guys. We've known them for a while. It's going to be a lot of fun just to talk entrepreneurship, how they started this business, what they do. That'll be, I think, a good time because they're really great guys, paratroopers former paratroopers turned tree service.
Wow.
Guys, so that'll be a lot of fun. We're also going to have Francoise from Revelation Vineyard. So
Okay.
she's here in Central Virginia just to talk what it's like to start a winery in Virginia, right? What that's looked like in the past year, how you even begin that process. Maybe we'll talk a little barriers to entry because that's not necessarily an easy thing to start from scratch, and see what she has to say on that. So that should be exciting. And then my dad and I were going to spend a little time going over the Restaurant Recovery Act. Because I think particularly for a lot of Latinos that are in restaurants, and a lot, and all the other restaurateurs in the area, there's some definite help coming that way. Because we know they've been hit very hard, and sometimes it's not easy, particularly for Latino entrepreneurs, to access PPP and some of the other assistance that's been going out there. So there's a new restaurant recovery that's coming our way, but there's some steps you have to take to be ready for it. So my dad and I will spend a little time bilingually making sure we get the info out on what are the steps to be prepared to get this assistance, especially for an industry that isn't quite all the way back yet.
Dude, this was your best interview yet. He completely adapted on the fly to a brand new script that I surprised him with literally in real time, and you could probably not even tell that he was surprised by this. He's just such a sophisticated and seasoned and talented broadcaster. He's also the CEO of Emergent Financial Services. His name is Alex Erpe. Alex and Xavier Erpe host Today y Mañana. It airs tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille network. It is probably the most knowledgeable offering show on this network. I mean, I literally, on this network, I watch all the shows, every single one. Even if I'm not in studio, I'm watching every single show. That show offers the most knowledge bombs of anyone on this network, and it's not even close. And I sincerely mean that. I'm looking forward to watching you guys tomorrow. I love your family. Please give props to Nicholas, not only on the facts today, but on his social media skill set. As someone who does it for a living, I see what he's doing, and the dude has skills.
He puts in a lot of work to.
I can
tell.
tell.
All from scratch. All from scratch. He just put in the work to figure that out, how that works.
But I please tell him I'm very impressed.
Thank you so much. Will do. Appreciate it, as always.
We'll see you tomorrow, friend.
We'll see you tomorrow, my friend. Take care.
Take care. Alex Erpe, guys, CEO of Emergent Financial Services, A-plus people. Watch the show tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. It is darn good, guys. All right, a lot I'm going to cover today on the program. And Judah, we're going to pick up the pace and tempo. We have What's Barking Local, Patty Zeller's show that spotlights everything positive in the animal community in Central Virginia at 3 o'clock today. And I have 2 contracts and a conference call that I got to do between now and 3 p.m. So we're going to pick up the pace and tempo on a couple of topics that I think is important to get out to you. Yesterday, we hosted a Charlottesville City Council candidate debate. It went flawlessly. It went flawlessly because of Kathy Galvin's organization and her ability and talents behind a microphone, and it went flawlessly because Judah Wickower is a fantastic director and man behind the camera. The candidates were respectful of each other. They disagreed, but they did it in respectful fashion. That's something we need on council now. Carl Brown, Brian Pinkston, Yaz Washington, Juan Diego Wade, all in studio yesterday for 2 hours. I encourage you to visit ilovecville.com, where you can watch this 2-hour debate at your leisure and get informed. The Democratic primary is June 8th. The general election, I believe, is November 2nd. An incredibly important election. The next question we must ask is, will Nakaya Walker run again? She has been silent since Nakaya and I went back and forth on Facebook about her credit card usage, when I called her out for sketchy behavior. That sketchy behavior and us on the I Love Seville network calling the mayor out has led council to have clear-cut rules and guidelines to what is allowed for credit card usage moving forward. City Council has approved $1,000 per counselor in discretionary funds. It was approved Monday with a 3-2 vote. Lloyd Snook and Nakia Walker voted against it. Michael Payne, Cena McGill, and Heather Hill voted in favor of it. Nakia Walker wanted the ability to spend the money without approval whatsoever. The $1,000 allowance per city councilor must be approved. Must be approved before the money could be spent. She called that restrictive and paternalistic. Mayor Walker. Of course it's restrictive and paternalistic. It should be. It's not your money. It's taxpayers' money. You can't spend taxpayers' money without restrictions. I'm shocked that I have to say this. You can't spend taxpayers' money without restrictions. You can't spend taxpayers' money without restrictions. You can't spend a G note without rules. Does that not seem like common sense? It does to me. Lloyd Snook was opposed to counselors paying people to speak in public meetings in support of the counselors who are paying them to speak. Frankly, so am I. But in government and in politics, you got to hedge and you got to come to a middle ground. And the middle ground is a G note per counselor when approved by local government officials. And from my standpoint, that is a pretty good situation. And it's better than this nebulous gray area that we previously were in, where Joe Plantania, the top cop in the city, said, look, I can't press any charges. These rules are so bogus, there's no charges to press. Get your house in order, council. Then this network that reaches more than any other network, people than any other in Central Virginia, said this is bogus, brought it to everyone's attention, and on Monday, we get rules, guidelines, clear-cut instructions on how you can spend taxpayer money. The question we must ask each other, will the mayor run again as an independent? I'm going to relay the message she sent to me on Facebook when we were going back and forth in very public fashion in front of the entire community about credit card usage in a matter of moments. Before I relay that message to you, I'm going to ask these questions. Will it be difficult for the mayor to run for re-election when she knows the likelihood of her getting the mayor moniker again is slim to none? Lloyd Snook, Cena McGill, and Michael Payne will stay on council. They're not even halfway through their term. 2 new seats are opening. The 5 people on council determine who the mayor is going to be. The mayor called Michael Payne a racist a couple weeks ago. The mayor cannot coexist with Lloyd Snook whatsoever. And the mayor called out Cena McGill a couple of weeks ago as well. The likelihood of her getting 3 people to name her a mayor again if she is reelected is slim to none. So the question I ask you, will Nikia Walker run for re-election when she knows the likelihood of her being named mayor again is slim to none? I'm just going to ask that question to you. Second question I'm going to ask to you. Will Nikia Walker run for re-election when she knows the three people that will stay on the dais for 2+ more years, Snook, Payne, and McGill, those three people she's throwing under not the bus, not a tractor trailer, but like a tank, an army convoy of tanks she's throwing under the metaphorical army tank of convoys. That's how much she's throwing them under the bus. A convoy of tanks. Will she run for re-election when she knows there's three people on the dais that frankly have tremendous bitterness toward her? The next question I'm going to ask you. Prior to getting elected to council, Mayor Walker was a part-time employee in the Parks and Rec Department. I don't know what her salary, what her pay was as a part-time employee. I do know she's making $20,000 per year as the mayor. Here's the question. The $20,000 she earns as mayor per year of Charlottesville, how important is that $20,000 to paying and covering her overhead? That $20,000, from a reading the tea leaves standpoint, would seem much more valuable to a part-time employee in the Parks and Recs Department when compared to a lawyer, Lloyd Snook, when compared to Heather Hill, who stopped working in the private sector to pursue this elected position because her husband has a strong paying job, which helps cover the lion's share of family overhead. So that's another question. How much is this $20,000 worth to the mayor in inspiring, encouraging, or motivating her to run and seek re-election so she can meet her household overhead? Now, this is what she said to me when we were going back and forth about the credit card issue. It's a screenshot that I'm going to read verbatim, okay, J-Dubs? Jerry, this is all the time that you're getting from me. I have a campaign to prepare for. If I'm convicted of whatever it is that I'm alleged to be guilty of, the entire community will know. If my 4 colleagues change the credit card policy, someone will donate the gift cards. Either way, they will get what they deserve for their time, and I'll figure out a solution. That was in February. Jerry, this is all the time you're getting from me. I have a campaign to prepare for. That's the last statement she's made about running again. Here we are on the 7th of April, 2021, and I'm making my intentions clearly known that I will run for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, Scottsville District, 2 years in advance. Here we are, the 7th of April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, less than 7 months away from the general election, and we do not know what the most influential elected official in Central Virginia is going to do from a re-election standpoint. Next topic, J-Dubs, Ralph Sampson. Can you imagine a 7'4" man flipping burgers, making Gus burgers, getting onion rings, Grills with ice cream. God, I would love some grills with ice cream. Those donuts, J-Dubs, on the flat top, J-Dubs, with the ice cream, J-Dubs. Some grills with ice cream, J-Dubs. You like that, right? J-Dubs, you been in the White Spot? J-Dubs loves food. Is that fair? I love food. You love food. A couple of great things J-Dubs has going for him. The man has the secret to the fountain of youth. That's why they call him the young cowers. The man can eat anything he wants and he does not gain weight. That fair? You don't gain weight, dog. You got a very high metabolism. You got a very high metabolism. Can you imagine a 7'4" man making Gus burgers and we walking in, Judah, after closing down the Biltmore, and we say, Ralph Sampson, make it a double Gus with cheese. What would you order? You get a single Gus, my friend? You got the double Gus. I go the double Gus too, Jada. You want to get? Come on, give me a little knowledge bobs on the microphone. Can we get you over there? I'll put you on the spot here. I'd love to see what that order would be. My order, J-Dubs, is a double Gus with cheese, side of O-rings, Coca-Cola Classic, and some grills with ice cream. I would love if they were served by Ralph Sampson, college basketball Hall of Famer, 7'4" man, and now the new co-owner of the White Spot. And get ready for the food truck, the Gus Bus. The Gus Bus. The Gus Bus will go on the road to a festival, vineyard, and brewery nearest to you. And maybe you'll get a 7'4" man in the Gus Bus making you Gus burgers. I think it's beautiful. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Last item out of the notebook, Hubert Davis, the replacement coach for Roy Williams, the newly minted head basketball coach in Chapel Hill, Hubert Davis. I think it's a fantastic hire. They stayed within the family. Hubert Davis has name recognition as a former ESPN analyst, one of the greatest basketball players to wear the baby blue, the powder blue for North Carolina. Now the basketball coach at UNC, competing against Tony Bennett, Mike Krzyzewski, in a very talented Atlantic Coast Conference coaching tree. Hubert Davis, welcome to the ACC. Tomorrow on the show, Lee Elberson, Chief Executive Officer, Claiborne Education. On Friday's show, Rico Hearns, Mr. Sweet Lick himself, will join us in studio. I did Rico's show today. That will be dropped later in the week, maybe next week. And the man behind the camera, Chris Doman, is going to join us on the program as well on Friday. Folks, I will also do Charles Lewis, Razor Robinson, and Max Robinson's show, in my humble opinion, on, I'm looking at it right now, May 23rd. Is it May 23rd? No, I don't think it's May. I'm looking at my calendar. Hold on. We just confirmed this. Yeah, it's May 23rd, right? I will be on, in my humble opinion, May 23rd. Real talk, baby. Real talk. If you're just tuning in, I'm going to run for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, Scottsville District. We will cover that throughout the next year or so as the campaign launches, as the PAC is created, as the fundraising efforts, as the campaign efforts, as the team efforts gain momentum. I plan to make an impact. I plan to work my ass off. I plan to win. I plan to win. And I plan to commit myself to 4 years of bettering Albemarle County from a civic standpoint. I will listen to learn instead of listen to talk. I'm excited to huff some new young blood into the Board of Supervisors. I think I may be, if elected, the second youngest to ever serve. Maybe the youngest, in fact. I think I might be the youngest at that point to ever serve on the board. I'm going to ask for your help. I'm going to ask for your help. I'm going to need your help. But if you help me get elected, you will have a transparent, elected official that will utilize a platform like this to better the community. Someone who is willing to help lead, find solutions, and make Albemarle County a better place for disenfranchised, for those without voices, for those that go unheard, and for those that are atop the financial pecking order as well. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show.